Hello and welcome to a comparison of the Virtual Energy Blackout to the original Eternity. The Blackout is Storm's newest ASIM Pearl, and the Eternity is Global's most recent ASIM Pearl, so if you're in the market for something like this, we're going to take a look and see which one you should buy, or if you already have an Eternity, we'll see if they can coexist. Before we get started, big shout out and thanks as always to Royal Crest Lanes. They're a big part of bringing these videos to you. All it takes is a text and we have everything we need. Also, my code ROSEDAL10 will get you 10% off your order at checkout at CoolWick, and if you check the description, you'll find a bunch of helpful links and information, including our personal specs, a discount code for custom ball cups and spinners through Scarred Prints, even a discount code for a new affiliation with Free Spirits, which features non-alcoholic replacements for things like whiskey, tequila, and gin for those looking or needing to cut back and or quit drinking, and finally links to buy each of these balls at Bowler's Mart. I do receive a 5% commission on all sales through the links. To get started, we're on the Kegel Chromium Lane Condition. It's a challenge pattern that's 42 feet long, 25.5 mils, and just under a 7:1 ratio. It's not as punishing as a sport pattern, but not as easy or wide open as a house pattern. Both balls have the same layout for both of us, and the surfaces have been reset to 1000 with Jayhawk Bowling Supply's Diamond Dust pads on a resurfacing machine, then finished with Storm's React-A-Scuff to get them to a 3000-ish grit sheen for Angel, while I finished them with a light application of Storm's Step 2 compound. As you may have seen, I recently did a report card for the Eternity, and for Angel it earned the top rating of a 10 on the new Kool-Aid meter, patent pending, while for me it's surprisingly mediocre. The Eternity was billed as an upgrade of the Altered Reality, and that's what it seems to be. It shares a very familiar look and shape, but addresses the two Achilles heels of the Altered, which were being a little too sharp and locking up / being too forward. The Eternity rounds the friction response just enough that the ball resists locking up or the tendency to hook stop, even though it is still slightly forward. This makes it more versatile and more usable while still retaining the general overall motion that made the Altered so popular. The cover is the S84 Response Pearl cover from the Altered, of course, with the new Epoch core, which takes inspiration from the original Break core, and also mirrors the core numbers from the Volatility line. 249 RG, 050 differential, and an 014 intermediate differential in 15 pounds, so typically strong RG and differential numbers, but a medium int diff, which really just lowers the torque versus typical ASIMs, which helps to slow down the back-end move and prevent the locking up or jerking on the back end, while still providing some torque for a stronger move than you're going to get out of symmetric balls. It definitely works. The Eternity is extremely well balanced, and Angel has a hard time missing with it when it's in play. It's clean and easy up front, though obviously still strong given where Angel is playing. It's rolly but somewhat slow to rev, however when you see it start to spin up, it doesn't just jerk and go nuts. It gradually builds momentum, which gives you a lot of forgiveness down lane. If you get it in a little, it's not going to stop and dive through the nose the minute it hits friction, but if you get it out a little, you can see on the few that she's leaked out to the right that it's still strong enough to dig, and the more gradual climbing finish on the back end keeps it from being overwhelmed by the angle and giving up or straightening out or rolling out. It would play anywhere for me, but I had to get around it to keep it from going forward. That seems to be something unique to me though, and not something most people are seeing. Most people are getting Angel's experience. The Blackout, on the other hand, is a somewhat different look. It's even easier up front with a rounder move down lane. Very controllable, it seems to just continue. There's no definitive place that it starts revving up, transitioning down lane, etc. It just rolls and punches. The cover is the REX Pearl cover that we've seen on several other balls like the Fate, Night Road, and Infinite Physics. I think the Blackout shares the most in common with the Dark code, but while the Dark could be early and weak at the pocket for some, the Blackout addresses and fixes that by adjusting the shape to move it closer to the pins, which makes it more effective. The Shape Lock HD core has been around for a long time and was in the virtual releases that were popular almost a decade ago, such as the Virtual Gravity. That was a huge boost for the company. The numbers are a 248 RG, 052 differential, and an 020 int diff. It's a stronger core on paper than it feels like on the lane, or maybe it's just that it's surprisingly long up front for how big those numbers are. That's one of the main differences between the two, is that the Eternity slows down slightly while the Blackout doesn't. This helps drive more of a difference between the two balls, but that's something you wouldn't be able to pick up on looking at the numbers because the Blackout actually has the stronger core between the two. While Angel is throwing the ball really well in the Blackout footage, it looks like the speed difference is more than it is, or it looks like she's throwing the Blackout faster than she is because it's not slowing down. Heavier rolling or chuggier balls manage to actually lose speed more quickly, which gives them more time to get traction and hook. And while I wouldn't call the Eternity chuggy by any means, it definitely rolls heavier than the Blackout, which again gives it more time to hook. For me, it's sailing down the lane and turning sideways, but because of how strong it is, I'm getting recovery from the outside and a bit of push on the inside. Between the two, the Eternity plays a little further left for Angel, but really just due to it being more responsive for her. She can play with the Eternity where she's playing with the Blackout, it's just a little too sensitive from there. A little right and it won't get back, and a little left and it's moving too quickly, so where she's at with the Eternity was the sweet spot. The Blackout, meanwhile, is blendy enough to play straighter, but also bend a little too. It seems to prefer the straighter zone for her at least. These two, for her, share a similar comparison as the Blackout did to the Absolute, because the Eternity for Angel is just like a stronger Absolute. Same exact shape, does all the same things, prefers the same zones, it just hooks more. The Eternity is definitely the earlier rolling of the two. You can see it gradually slow down through the lane while the Blackout glides and then has a very round continuous shape into the pins, so definitely different looks on the lane. For me, the same is true, however I have them separated even further in the length department. The Eternity is heavier rolling, the cover gets traction earlier, and it's a similar friction response or quickness, but the way the two balls do things is night and day different for me. The Blackout glides easily down the lane and then has the hard round arc, while the Eternity starts slowing down instantly, hooks sooner, and has more of a forward hook set back in motion. At the same time, they cover about the same amount of boards, they just do it in incredibly different ways. I feel like I have to be in a similar zone with both of them, the Eternity because of how early it rolls and the Blackout for how many boards it covers down lane. I won't belabor the point here because I don't think the reaction I get out of the Eternity is super typical. I've heard a few people mention they've gotten the same thing, but again, most people got what Angel did, so we'll just wrap it up here. The Virtual Energy Blackout is now available along with the Eternity Pi, and of course the original Eternity still is too. No matter whose experience you got with the Eternity, there's little overlap in my opinion. Down in the description is a link to Bowler's Mart that will get a Blackout, Pi, or Eternity ordered for you, and of course don't forget my code ROSEDAL10 to get 10% off your order at checkout at CoolWick. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.